Yeah, thanks, Fatu, and good afternoon to members of the media. Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Should be a very interesting one. A good team with PSL experience, with some very good players, with a good coach who's got extensive experience in this competition and in the PSL. So we've got to come well prepared. I got an opportunity a little bit last night to clear our game and check our performance against SuperSport, and also check their last game. But a lot more games were loaded on my laptop that's got 5 passwords, and so I'll go into that a little bit later today. No, these games are very tough, and the difficulty is that everybody expects you to win, and so the pressure's on you, and you've got to perform on the day, and it's not easier. It's you've got to prepare mentally. You've got to be in the right space, and the players have got to get into the expectation of the right performance level, And if we can perform to that level, I'm sure we'll be fine. Good team, as I said, Maritzburg, with good coach, and some very, very good players who have PSL experience. And the club. The club is a club that knows the runnings of the league. They've got a history of doing well in cup competitions too. And so we've got to make sure that we are ready mentally more than anything else. One of the greats of South African football, who just so happens to be a family member, he always says to me, your biggest mistake is you put Tembazwana on the bench. Every time when Sundowns doesn't play well, I get that message. Your biggest mistake. And so when you speak of a man who's unearthed some of the greatest football players in this history, in the country's history, and who was one of the greatest also. And Dr. Jomasono always tells me, he says to me, you can't replace Tembazwane. You can't. He's a generational talent, and a good person, very, very good. You saw yesterday when we took him off. He doesn't whinge, he doesn't whine. You get this thing sometimes with players who are at a certain level. Tembazwane comes running off the pitch. You watch yesterday when he was substituted. He's not dragging his feet, and that for me is already an indication of how great he is. When you even undermine your greatness, Mshishi has that. Mshishi actually doesn't even know how good he really is, these type of players, it's very difficult. It will be another 10, 15 years until you find someone that will play and maybe surpass Mshishi's level. So I'm not even going to attempt to replace Mshishi because it's impossible. No, fortunately, there's and you got to also give credit to the PSL really, because we're getting a bit more coverage of the first division. And their latest game was on TV. In fact, I was just speaking to Deco outside because he was actually doing the commentary of that game and he covered. And I was listening to some of his comments, and I asked him about one or two things because he saw the game live. And so just as I was walking in, I asked him about one or two things that he mentioned while he was doing the game. So fortunately, we do have access to that. And then I've got to give a lot of credit to the technical team that we have, particularly our analysis department, headed by Gulam, and we've got Dale, who's on field, on site, a position analyst, and he does incredible work for us, where he covers a lot of the opponents. So he's done that, and as I said today, they loaded quite a bit of information on my things. So we'll spend a bit of time today and tomorrow trying to prepare and see exactly how they set up. And the difficulty also is that sometimes you prepare for a certain way of playing, and then they come in the cup games when they play a team like Sundowns and they change completely. You know, the first thing is the rules in the NFD do not allow for all your senior players to play. You've got to have a certain number of youngsters in your team at a certain point. But when you play the cup game, you can play all your senior players. And so already that is one of the biggest things that you've got to take into consideration. And so proper profiling and analysis of the squad and the depth of the squad and the players and even the players that don't regularly feature. For an example, like a La Masia, for an example, we had to even check where they have a player like Virgil Fries who hasn't been playing. They had Siabonga Zulu who was not playing in the previous round. But we had to do analysis on them to say in case they are in the starting lineup. But let's continue with the work. There's just quite a bit of work to do when you do it at that level and that depth, and that's the most complicated part, particularly against when you play against NFD opponents. I would lie to you if I said it doesn't worry me. I'm trying for him not to see that it worries me. I speak to him quite a lot. We spoke today just before I left training. In fact, we had a session today and a lot of it was focused on the final third. And funny, he was banging goals in and with his left foot. And I said to him, is this the return of Peter Shalulile? He looked at me and said, no, it's the return of the left foot. So I'm hoping that he continues like this. We do a bit of work for him. And as I said even before, what I like is for all the players, you know, they have to make a contribution because our game is a little bit more detailed than just putting the ball into the back of the net for the strikers. You know, there's so much work that they have to do in and out of possession. And as long as I still see that, you know, I'm very happy, and I know the goals will come for sure. Every single striker, you go from Benzema to Cristiano to Haaland. I mean, I watched. Was it the Liverpool game where he missed with the left foot and an easy cross? Yeah, he tried to place it. He could have headed it. I don't know what game it was. I watched so much of Man City, but anyway. It was the Manchester derby, yeah, against Man United. Yeah, exactly. And he missed, but he scored after that. You know, he scored an even more difficult one after that. So strikers go through these situations, and you've just got to support them. And fortunately, he's also got good teammates around him, you know. And these teammates support him and help him, and he'll be fine. He's a good person also, and he'll be fine. No, Titi is. We have to. We don't have a choice because when you draw a game at Sundowns, it's national catastrophe. But the reality is that if I said to them today, I said I'm not happy with the result yesterday for sure. But when I look at the result in isolation, I get emotional. But when I look at the performance and I watch the game without any sort of like connotations, and I'm happy, you know, I'm happy with the performance, I'm happy with the application, I'm happy with the effort, I'm happy with the brotherhood. There are certain things that you get to see in your team, and these are things I didn't see against Chippa. We won the game, but there were things that I didn't see. And so when I see these things, I'm in a better space, you know. And so we just have to continue with this thing and have the same mentality because the games are tough. Every single game for Sundowns is tough. And we have to win every single game. So we have to prepare in that way. Every single player has to be ready. We need everybody. Now is the time where everybody needs to raise their hand and say, I am part of this team and I make a unique but special contribution to Mamelodi Sundowns, and it's another game where we have to not only just win but also perform well and make sure that we get a good result. It's very difficult in South Africa because sometimes in South Africa people say no, you're winning, but still people are unhappy. They say you're not playing well. And then when you play well and you don't win, people say, no, but you've got to win, you know. And sometimes it's, you ask yourself in South Africa, what is the, you know, what's more important, the result or the style? When we lost in the semi-finals of the Champions League, when a lot of people were saying to me, this is the best performing team on the continent. Even a lot of people in South Africa were saying, no, but you've got to change the style of play because you should play a little bit like the North Africans and put style aside and run for the result. And I said, no chance. And now we're trying to move in a space where we are playing well. Can we play better? For sure. Some games better than others, but we can play better. In every single game, there's certain things we can improve, but we're also winning, you know, and that's why I always say that this group of players doesn't get the credit that they really, really deserve, because today I see them and they come in and I look at their eyes, I look at their body language, and they still want more. They still want to play the next game. They still want to win the next game. They've got an appetite. And I always say to you guys that the moment I don't see that in their eyes is the moment I know it's chai. You know, it's finished for me. But yeah, it's chai. But I say that to them and they laugh also. But every single day I come to work, I look at their eyes. I look at they've got an appetite. You know, they want to play better. They want to do better. They want to listen to the coach. They want to watch more video sessions. You know, even sometimes they're the ones that actually ask me to have, oh, can you show me this? Can we do this? I've got times, and they come with their corrections. Can you spend some time with me? And that is really, really what I enjoy about my job more than anything else. You know, yesterday I was watching, after the game, I watched Porto versus Arsenal. And I was amazed at Pepe's level, amazed. And I sat back and I said, you know, I don't think we actually understand the amount of sacrifice, commitment, lifestyle changes, diet, nutrition, recovery, rest, that it takes for the older players to still be able to make. We make a lot about the younger ones, you know, the younger ones. But when you look at a player like Dennis Onyango, for an example, to still, the other day we had a small-sided game and Dennis was making saves like a 15-year-old. I said, even after training, I said, guys, did you see, I asked the players, I said, did you see Dennis's level? They said, yeah, we saw. And really, the amount of work that he has to do on his body for him to still be at that type of level is incredible. And even probably more so than Mabena at 17, 18, you know? And I don't think a lot of credit is given to the elder statesmen or the older players who are still going and still pushing and still maintaining a high competitive level in professional football. I don't think a lot of credit is, and that's just generally maybe, and this I picked up when I was watching even last night. I said, Pepe marshals that defense like he's just come into professional football. But this guy played for Real Madrid. He's probably played 2 or 3 World Cups. He's playing in the Champions League game against Arsenal for Porto, and he's keeping the line. He's aggressive in the tackles and the duels, both in the air and the ground, and he's so good. He looks like a player that could easily play for Manchester City still and still play for Real Madrid and at that level. The other day, Real Madrid actually was playing against Sevilla, and you saw the level of Modric, incredible. You saw the level of on the other side Ramos, and you're saying to yourself, why should these older players actually get a little bit or less credit for maintaining their level and pushing to that level and still maintaining the game intensity, even when the game is going so quickly? And yet we make a big noise about, give the youngsters a chance. But what about the guys that you still support when they are 36, 37, when a lot of people write them off? Do you know what I mean? And when they can still perform, why not give them credit? So I'm always looking at things differently, and that's why maybe it's a nice term Mourinho uses. I'm not one of the bottle also, but that's because maybe I don't look at things the same as everybody else, because I still think that for Tambazwane to be playing at the level that he's playing, he needs so much credit. You know, Bernard Parker, to be still going at the level that he's going. You watch Bernard Parker's performances even before he got injured, and you're like, my goodness, he looks like he can go on for another 3-4 years. You know, so as much as I love giving youngsters an opportunity, but they've also got to earn their strides, and sometimes even, I think in South Africa we rush them too quickly because we hype them. You know, there's this thing I always share with you guys, and I share it with my players also. It's called the curse of the shooting star. You know, a shooting star. They say when you see it, you must make a wish before it disappears. You know, and everybody marvels at it, but immediately after that, it disappears. And even there's some youngsters that I've 5 years ago, I said to myself, but I expect something from this player. You know, I don't want to mention names because some of them don't play for Sundowns and they're not my players. But recently I've been watching them. Some of them are overweight. Some of them haven't fulfilled their potential. And you're like, what happened here? You know, and South Africa has this, and that's why I'm so careful when I deal with a talent like Sipho Mbule, because I've seen it so many times in South Africa where you lose these special players, you know, because it's not easy, and it's really not easy. You just throw them in, everybody talks about them, everybody greets them. Imagine you've got a salary that is more than your parents. Now all of a sudden you're 18, you don't listen to your parents, you know, because you're the breadwinner now. You come in at any time, you're drunk, and the parents are like, let's not step on his toes, because if we do that, you know what I mean? So really, this is what these youngsters go through. And if you don't understand the culture and the context, it's so easy to ruin talent, you know. So I'm so careful when I deal with super talented individuals. So careful, because I know it's my responsibility to protect, but also to channel it in the right way. And fortunately, I've been in this position where I've been a youth coach, and I've seen super players at young age groups, like a Percy, and I've followed and I've been part of his career, and I see Mkhulisi, the late Ace Madisha. You know, these are players that were with me as kids, and then I see them now, and I'm like, we didn't do such a bad job, you know, because they were able to maintain their careers. And it's not, and this is what I say to Mabena, to Kutwano, to Ntando, to Sia. I say to them, boys, you must understand one thing. The career is far more important to look after than the talent. The talent is God-given. That one is God. You didn't ask for it. God said, here. And by the way, it's a biblical principle too. To whom much is given, much is expected. So that blessing, you must understand, it's going to come with a hell of a lot of demands. And then it's to look after the career, not the talent. And you know what is to look after the career? It's your training, it's your rest, it's your finances, it's your friends, it's your social life, it's your diet, your nutrition. It's all these other aspects that come into it, because it's very, and then it's their responsibility to make sure that they do it and they do it well, and then it's our responsibility to make sure that Temazwane is mentoring Mabena, Grant Gekana is mentoring Mendi, Bongani Zungu is mentoring Emali, and Bongani Zungu says, no, but Mabena, you don't look like you are fresh today at training. Why, my boy? And these conversations don't need to take place in front of the coach. Do you know what I mean? So one of the biggest things I think that we miss a little bit is mentors, you know, and role models for these young kids. And then we just throw them in and then we expect them to swim. It's very, very difficult. And then they make mistakes. You know, it broke my heart, and I don't know if this is the right platform, but it broke my heart. I saw someone sent me a video of this boy who paid 500 rands. It really killed me. But because we don't have role models, we don't have mentors, we don't have, no, don't speak to that. Don't try to go that route. And they help. And society is crying out for this, and not just in football, but just society in general. We are so quick to allow people to fail. So quick. And we forget that everybody deserves a second chance, and maybe even a third chance, and maybe even a fourth chance. But when we see, money's got into his head, fame has got into his head, go deeper and find out what you could do to help. And yeah, anyway, it's a good question, but it will take us longer. It's something I'm very passionate about because of my background as a youth coach. And I love giving youngsters an opportunity. That's not just as players, but that's why you see even Coach Temba Patela is with us, because I was a young coach before and I was given a chance, you know. So Coach Michael Loffman, you know, young coaches, and maybe even better than me, you know. So Champions League, difficult. I don't want to. My head is not in that space yet, David, to be honest. I haven't wrapped my head around that, so I know we'll have a press conference and we'll discuss that in detail, but yeah, unfortunately I don't have an answer for you on that.
Coach, to borrow from you, it's chai.
It's chai.